Hey there, Celebration Pros. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your host and business bestie, Carin Hunt. And today we have our favorite weirdo, Jen Sulak. Is that how we say your last name?
Sulak.
Sulak. She is a passionate photographer and artist that welcomes the weird, celebrates imagination, and creates opportunity for belonging. She has been in business over 16 years, one of the few for that long, and added a new hyper niche brand, Weirdo Weddings Photography, to her portfolio in 2020 over COVID. And Jen's passion and drive is connecting others through creativity and self-expression. Jen, you and I have already gotten into the conversation and all the goods, and we had to click record and get in here. So if you could, one, thank you so much for being here, and two,
Absolutely.
share with us more about your passion, how Weirdo Weddings came to be. I love what weird means to you. Just kind of give it to us all again here now that we've pressed the red button.
Absolutely. So, and as we were discussing, she commented on my hair. And if you're listening, you can't see how vibrant and somewhat sad my pink hair is right now because my roots are coming in. But for years, I was under another name until I became Pink Light Images, and people were able to spot me and find me and pick me out of a crowd instead of, getting lost. When the world shut down, I realized that I had to make some decisions, right? I had to make a lot of decisions on, am I going to continue my business? Am I going to continue to serve couples getting married? Am I going to, because we all know people are going to still get married, right? So, in the shutdown, I lamented from March until August when the word weirdo came up because I'm always heavily involved in the fine art conceptual community.
Mhm.
And we let ourselves be as weird as possible. Matter of fact, my friend just posted yesterday that she was doing photo shoots with two skeletons. And I was like, that's my girl. um, so we were already identifying as weirdos. And I thought to myself, I haven't seen this in the wedding industry yet. Like I hadn't seen somebody come out and be really bold and brave and say, hey, I'm a weirdo and I'm calling all my other weirdos. And so when I said it out loud, I have to tell you, that gut feeling and that the thing that washes over your body that says this is the thing.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what happened to me as soon as I said it out loud. So it was really exciting for me because I could take this, something I was already working in. It's not like I had to, try to reach new clients. Like all my clients are actually weirdos. I just never had an umbrella for them to come under. So it was great as an extension of something I was already doing. So that's what made it super exciting. And I work heavily in the Renaissance festivals. I work heavily with people that just want to go out and have a really good time on their wedding. And recently I even talked about how courthouse weddings are not boring. And let's just be honest, you can run off and get married anywhere and make it fun. And that's what I love about Weirdo Weddings is that I want you to have fun and I want you to be yourself. And I want you to know that you're safe with me to do all of the above. And I'm not going to judge you for it. You know what I mean? So this is how it all came to be. And it's very exciting right now because the more I talk about it, the more excited I get. And the more excited I get about meeting potential couples out there that are just like, hey, I want to go run off with this theme. And I'm like, oh, I love your nerdiness. Let's go talk about some things about what you love about this thing. It could be anything. It could be a show. It could be a TV, a series. We have the Barbie movie coming out. I mean, come on, like everybody's losing their mind about Barbie right now. So there's this thing called Barbiecore. I had no idea that Barbiecore weddings was a thing. And so I was looking it up and I was like, this is fascinating. So there's so much you can do with just calling yourself a weirdo and then accepting that you are a little weird and then stepping out into that light, stepping out into that space which I felt was already waiting for me. I just needed to step up and claim it. You know what I mean? And sure enough, 30 minutes later, I bought weirdoweddings.com and then I became an online presence on Instagram. And fast forward 3 years later, we're literally almost to the day that I started the company. So we're getting into August. August is its birthday. It'll be 3 years old. So basically as old as your kid.
I love it. I love it. We say it all the time in this industry and in many others that COVID birthed some of the most brilliant ideas.
It
I
did.
think that the world needed a bit of a shakeup. That might have been a little extreme of a shakeup, but
So
a
extreme,
lot
but
of good did come from it. And while
yeah.
you were like talking through everything and you're like, courthouse weddings don't have to be boring, it reminded me of I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was Rachel McAdams and Tatum Channing, and she like loses her memory in the movie. But at the beginning, they get married. They like break into a museum with their friends, and she's in this like pink dress, and it's like the quirkiest little ceremony that they do.
Aw.
And then like as they're saying their vows, they see security come around the corner and they kiss and they like run away with their friends. And it was like, I'm like, that is like the most fun thing. And it just reminds me of like, an offbeat courthouse style, wedding. And there I could go in so many directions with everything you say. It's really exciting. And before, when we were chatting, I was saying, I'm like, this gives people their permission slip to be weird, to not like, I would have clients sit with me when I was a planner and they would say, you probably think I'm really strange, but I would love to have a Star Wars cake, or like whatever their jam was. And it's like, no, I don't think you're weird at all. And I'm actually really excited that we're doing something other than like the same wedding that we see constantly, especially if you're in a destination area like I am. But
Yeah, and yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say like that's a lot of the comments that I get about this starting this new business was, or this new, offshoot of my brand was just that. Like I'm putting a call out to couples to be as creative as they want. And then it's okay to approach me about, hey, I've got this weird idea for this cake or this outfit. I've actually started helping my couples try to navigate their outfits now, because I'm like, as much as I've seen over this last 16 plus years or whatever, I mean, there's so many different ways you can go with your fashion. There's so many different ways you can go with your decor. I remember I had a couple get married on Pie Day, and they actually like just had a dessert table and served everybody the dessert, and I was like, this is so fun and unique,
Yeah,
and
embracing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like celebrating the fact that they did the wedding their way. And I think that's what gets me excited, is that it's not just about me showing up and being your photographer. It's about me embracing all of who you are, so we have an amazing day. And whatever it looks like for all of these couples out there planning right now, and some of them are still planning for even their Halloween weddings, I've noticed. Um I know that Halloween's in the middle of the week this year, so I'm so excited, hopefully getting that call, you know?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, let's
I
do,
love
what is
I
it, like
love
a
people that
Wednesday
get married in the
wedding?
yeah, when they get middle of the married in the middle of the week, it's awesome because it fits with my lifestyle. Like, I'm no longer working the 9 to 5 job. I was working a 9 to 5 job for most of my life, most of my adult life. College dropout. I actually was going to go into aviation careers, which is really funny because if you look at me now, it's like, oh, really? You were going to go into aviation?
Totally
Um,
different.
yeah, totally different, but I've always been creative, so the creativity always called me back home to it. So even though I was super smart and I did love math and science, I was like, I love the creativity more. I like connecting with people more now than ever, just because we feed off each other's nerdiness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially with the pop culture these days, like it's just nonstop stuff to nerd out about, and then all these fun shows that come out and movies that are coming out and everything that kind of we connect to as people, and then we translate it into our events. How fun is that?
Oh yeah. There's so many. One, there's a ton of inspiration out there that we now have access to just because of this digital
Mhm.
world. And on that same note, the tools to transform like what's in your mind into an actual piece of art or expression of yourself, it just makes it so much easier now than it was before, when it was like you felt like you either needed to be an artist or really good at Adobe. Like there's so many different avenues now that you're able
Oh,
to
the tools are so
express.
much easier. Oh my god,
Mhm.
like can we just say that Canva has really saved me a lot of headaches, because being in Photoshop, I don't enjoy it that much, but I'm like, I have a workflow that I enjoy, but yeah, it's just so many different tools and apps out there now that make things a lot easier design wise.
Oh yeah.
And so every time I talk to somebody designing their wedding, I'm like, yeah, just, get your inspiration, throw it together, and and, try to put it in a picture as best you can, and then have some fun with it, like have
Yeah,
some fun with your ideas.
absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about theming. I themed my wedding as well. I think it makes it a lot of fun, and again, kind of bringing that creative spirit, that personality. And I've said it before. This year's actually the very beginning of the year, they dubbed it the year of personalization,
Mm.
which I think can go hand in hand with theming. What do you think theming really looks like when it comes to planning a wedding, and then how, like, what are the benefits that it could pull in for a couple to be considering going with a theme rather than that classic?
I think a lot of people get caught up in the terminology of theme, thinking, "Oh my god, I have to have if I'm having a fall wedding, it's going to be pumpkins," stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
but what I've been talking about lately is a theme is anything that you want to revolve your design around, honestly. And if it's a texture or a color or, cosplay or, pink hair, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can take an idea. And I think when I think theme, I just think you take that idea and you incorporate it into your event design and style. And that includes your attire, and that includes your wedding party, that includes your reception. Um, but I think we realize now that we have much more choices because of how the world is set up now. Like, people are learning to make choices instead of
Mhm.
just going with the status list of 10
Right.
things that you should do for your wedding. Um, so when I say thematic, I think people should look beyond the terminology and go into the things that you love. Go into the things that draw you. Like, okay, when I first started photography, it was all about the architecture and the lines. I'm a huge mid-century modern girl. I love everything mid-century modern. If you took me to a museum or a flea market with just nothing but mid-century modern furniture, I would just be in heaven because I love the lines, I love the colors, I love the shapes. So when you're thinking about themes, why can't it be as simple as that? Now, I'll give you a great example because I had a client say they were going to do an Alice in Wonderland wedding, and I'm doing air quotes, y'all.
Mhm.
Alice in Wonderland wedding. I was like, okay, do tell, because you could go so many different ways with that theme, right? That story has a lot of details, and a lot of people have taken that story and embellished on those details. So this client, she had like an ombre yellow dress, very subtle. The only thing that was actually obnoxiously Alice in Wonderland was the fact that the couple of the guys came down the aisle with like the Mad Hatter hats and then they took them off immediately. And
Mhm.
then, but their decor, you wouldn't know it was Alice in Wonderland, but it had that whimsical feel to it. They said they wanted a wedding that was fun, whimsical, and them. So to them, Alice in Wonderland was very subtle. Now you take it to the other extreme where I put together a big production and we have almost full out cosplay mixed with a giant tea party with real food and drink.
Right.
And then
That doesn't make you like grow and shrink and
yes, exactly. My friend even made the cookies, right? She
I
made the
love
little
it.
cookies that said "Eat me" and all this other stuff, and and she wanted to be the Mad Hatter. She's like, "I want to be the Mad Hatter, and I want to do this, and I want to do that." And I was like, "That's great." I said, "There are no rules when you
Yeah.
take Alice in Wonderland to your own extreme." And that's why when I tell my clients or even people in the whole world, you can take a theme, whatever that theme is, and be very, very subtle, which nobody would really recognize what your theme is, to extreme where everybody knows what they're walking into. And much like the Renaissance festivals, you know what you're walking into.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you show up in costume and sometimes you don't. Nobody's judging you. But the fact is there's a theme. And so you already know what the theme is and you can go as subtle as you want. And even at the Ren Fair, you can actually go super subtle or you can go really crazy. There's a lot of people that show up in full chainmail. I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of ways you can take these themes. Which I just think is beautiful. So, I was going to add on, like, my wedding was also thematic. And this is another reason why it's mind blowing to me that I've come full circle to be Weirdo Weddings now, because when I got married 18 years ago, I had a Blue Man theme wedding. But if you have
It's
not
full
seen Blue Man Group,
circle.
you would not
Yes.
understand. So I took the elements from the theater show. If y'all have not seen Blue Man Group, it's a theater show. It's a, born into off Broadway, New York City. It is vibrant, it is colorful, it is fun, has music. At the time the CD was out, so I incorporated the music, I incorporated the theater aspects. But unless you were a Blue Man fan, you wouldn't get it. But it didn't matter because it was my wedding.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
and
I
that's
dressed,
like the whole other thing about it too, is people who
yeah.
are so worried about what everybody else is thinking, but this is your one day. This is your investment and your day. And of course there are certain considerations to make for your guests, but really I think when it comes to theme, have fun.
Yeah, and you again, like what I did was not so much over the top. I was actually mostly traditional Christian faith. My stepdad actually did my ceremony. My dad walked me down the aisle. We forgot to do the unity thing because, it wasn't planned out. I didn't have a rehearsal. Nobody knew what to do. It was hilarious. Now that I look back, I'm like, okay, every time I talk to couples, I ask them if they're going to have any kind of a rehearsal at all, because it's like, otherwise, nobody knows where to stand. I know
Mm-hmm.
because they did it at my wedding.
You're like, been there, done that.
Yeah, they don't know what to do. And the other thing I tell people is that I didn't hire a photographer because I really didn't know back then how important documentation was to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was to do it over, that would probably be the one thing I would add into that, is the photography, because disposable cameras, while lovely, I did get a lot of those under the
Sometimes.
nose chin shots, and I did have somebody take a photo of my shoes, which was fine because they were, platform sketchers. But the fact that I have about 20 photos that I really like, but I would have wanted my entire day captured, like from start to finish. And it's not like I had an over the top wedding. It was very simple, very sweet, but it also had a lot of details that I can't go back and look at because I don't have documentation.
Mhm.
And so I can tell people about it, but I can't show you.
Right.
So it's kind of sad in that way. So I decided when I became a photographer that that was going to be a part of my story, is that giving back to other couples as yeah, as the world keeps changing and the digital world keeps changing. I'm going to give back images to any couples that really want their day documented the way they want it, actually.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing that, no matter what your wedding looks like, no matter what theme, that's my job, is to sit with you and let's get this thing documented the way you want it. So, from 50 years from now, you can look at your wedding book or you can look at your prints and say, oh, I remember that thing I did that thing and some of us that are DIY, we like doing some DIY items. You
Mm-hmm.
just want to know that you did something and you have record proof of it?
Yeah, it's like a proud moment. Like, oh, I built that backdrop, babe. Do you remember it took me,
Yeah, do you
10
remember all those
hours and look at
favors
how
that
good
I
it came out?
did?
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally, if the Blue Man community, they know how much I put into my wedding and when they know all the things that I did. And I think that's what I want couples to understand, is that whatever you're nerding out about and feeling weird about, I get you. Because if it's something as simple as your favor boxes or no favors at all, designing little fun things to make you happy actually matters on your wedding day. And I can't stress that enough. You want to be happy on your wedding day, not just that you're marrying the love of your life, but don't you want an event where you actually feel good?
Yeah. Yeah.
You feel like you've had a hand in it, everybody's having fun, and everybody's celebrating you.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the definition of a wedding. So every time that's how it should feel. And
Yes.
I love, like, this differentiates you as a photographer, being able to, one, pull that experience and say, I want to give you what I wasn't able to have, because
Yeah.
I understand the importance of what it would mean if you didn't have these photos. But also, you understand that there are details involved, especially in a more themed wedding, that they're going to want captured, and to be able to ask and say, what did you have a hand in? What part of the wedding is going to be shown that, you created on your own, or came from your imagination, that maybe the planner brought together, so that those details are documented. And I really think that that's something special that you bring to the table.
Absolutely. Those details, they matter to me. And I love that my clients understand that it matters to them as well. And so that's usually every time I sit for a consultation, that's one of my top 5 questions is, are there special details that you've had a hand in, or your family, or maybe even somebody who's passed on? Because that's happened a lot lately in the last 3 years, right?
Yep.
So if there's any kind of memorial, any kind of mementos, any handmade items, oh my gosh, I want to capture all of that.
All the
Yeah.
things. Yep. We did, since you love mid-century modern, not that I had a lot of the decor wasn't really there, but we did a bogey and bacall themed wedding.
Oh,
And I
interesting.
was like, I either want to do, I had 3 ideas. I was going to do pinup Hawaii.
Mhm.
I was going to do rockabilly,
Mhm.
or I was going to do just go Hollywood glam and do bogey and bacall. And that's what we ended up doing, because it was a reflection of my husband and I's personalities. Because I'm the one who's going to be wearing like the glitz and the glam and all of that, and then he's a bluegrass. He's the lead singer and guitarist for a bluegrass band. So
Oh,
it
how
all worked
funny.
out. Yeah, it was like this mix, because where Key Largo was filmed, the
Mhm.
movie, which of course the stars were Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. It's a shack on the, like, it does, most of it doesn't exist anymore. It's like a shack on the water. It's a dive bar. It has a bad reputation. I had to redo the whole thing. My dad stared at me the whole time, and he's like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it. He's like, I don't know. You're the wedding planner. Our ceremony took place off site, and we had a trolley come in, and it all came together, and like everybody, I don't know, all the things, all the details to make it that theme really made it all that more special.
I love it when things come together, and I think I can speak for, you and I, and then also all the couples out there, like our expectations can get pretty high, but the fact that when you do see it come together, it gives you that, good feeling about, oh, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, and it really transforms a space too, I think, when you theme. um
Yeah.
if you're, whether you're budget friendly, or you're stuck in this one venue for whatever reason it might be, behind that, when you theme something, it can really transform the experience that you have in that space. Like, for instance, this was like a rundown shack on a not very cute beach. I'm really sorry for those listening in, because you know where it is. And it's a really fun place to go and party and have fun. Sunsets are beautiful, all the things. But for a wedding, it's not typically ideal. And the theme came in, we did red carpets, we put in chandeliers and some, the more linens, and it turned it all into what the vision was. And it was really special to the owners too, because of course we were bringing like a piece of history back to it. So when
Aw.
you're thinking of themes, and you want to make sure you're bringing your personality in, right? And then also think about what that theme means to the venue that you have, just making sure everything is complementary.
That's a really good point there, and I'll just give you one example of another client that wanted to do Lord of the Rings, and
Mm-hmm.
they picked a venue based upon something that already existed inside, and they just really put their efforts into decorating the tables, but you walked inside and it had the giant, almost looking candlelit chandeliers with the big round, like, it just felt like you were walking into a castle, you know?
Right, right.
And so I like the fact that they ran with it, and I'm swear to you that the groom looked like Legolas, not even gonna joke about that. And I believe she got married barefoot, and it's just wonderful to see how couples also choose their venues specifically for a look of a theme that they're going for. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm curious. Clearly you've done a million of these, right? Or at least have like the ideas. Is there you could answer one or both of these questions. Is there a theme that you've been dying to do and haven't done yet? Or maybe there's a theme that you have done that's just like your ultimate favorite?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely have
Besides
to
your
answer.
own.
I was gonna say, yeah, mine was great. No, I'll have a couple answers for that because I'd like to answer both of those. But I will continue in saying that recently, a month and a half ago, I did a vow renewal, and this was my own personal vow renewal. So just to continue on my
Oh,
wedding story, my husband proposed to me on a syndicated radio show in Dallas called Kid Craddock in the Morning, and it's at 106.1 Kiss FM. And so I reached out to a couple of people at the station and I said, "Hey, would y'all be interested in doing a vow renewal with me? You know, I'd love to like spew my love for my husband on the air." And so we set it up, and guess what theme I did? I took Blue Man again, and I
Mhm.
made it smaller, and a friend of mine put together a really cool bouquet for me. And this time I did not mess up. I brought a photographer friend to capture for me, so I have some lovely photos of me in my full nerdiness in my Blue Man Group dress that I made. And then my original wedding shoes, my platform Skechers.
Yes.
And then my husband just so happened to have on a really cool blue shirt. So here recently, I can say that I was my own client, say designing and planning my own vow renewal. Um, as far as a theme that I've already done, I'll just go start with one of the favorites from this year because I have way too many, and I don't ever want to just like highlight just one or five of them
Sure.
because I can go
Yeah.
on forever. But the start of my season this year, I had a full pirate wedding. Everybody came as the pirate theme. And it just so happened there's almost always the Ren Fair has almost always a Jack Sparrow running around.
Yep.
So Jack Sparrow showed up at the reception and then brought his energy into it. But that was a really fun way to start my season is just having this lovely couple just go all out pirate. I mean, he had a full beard with a handlebar mustache, and another great thing about that is they have a mermaid lagoon on site inside there, and they have about half of a pirate ship. Well, we'll say half of a ship that I got
Uh-huh.
to do photos next to because you know we were able to like it was just really neat to tie in the pirate theme with a prop that was already on site. Like I normally wouldn't have gotten to do that, but their wedding just kind of called out to me to let's take it above and beyond and go find the ship, and so we did. It was awesome. So I'm gonna shout out to my clients that did a full pirate theme wedding, and they just had so much fun and we're so happy. And even their cake was cute. It had coins on it and a dueling battle up on the top for their cake topper
Love
for
it.
the
I love it.
swords. I mean, that to me now is like almost normal. Like, you know, is that, you
Mhm.
know, I like to think that my weirdos are actually we all consider ourselves normal.
I think that's the
A theme
truth.
that I would love to do one day is I still have yet to find people that will, you know, find me for a Spaceballs wedding because that would probably be the quickest wedding ever if they go true to the movie.
Yeah.
And I did recently go to Comic-Con here in Dallas, or they don't call it Comic-Con, they call it Fan Expo. And I saw a barf running around and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is not the cutest thing." Like, imagine if I was able to do a Spaceballs wedding or something. And there's a lot of, you know, the Star Wars troops. I'd love to do a Star Trek wedding. I don't know if a lot of people are still doing that kind of thing, but I love science fiction. I love things that go a little spacey. But I'm not opposed to also all the classic themes, you know, like there's so many different things. I could just go on and on because I want to do them all.
And there's
So,
so many times, especially and Jen, I'm sorry, where are you located? Like where do
oh,
you
I'm in the North Dallas area.
Okay,
So, you know, I'm very accessible, like 3 hours in each direction. I'm all
right?
over the coasts. I mean, seriously, like it's 4 hours to Seattle. It's, you know, 3.5 to Boston. You know, it's maybe 2 hours over to Orlando. I mean, I just, you know, I can go anywhere.
Yeah, it's really easy to get to places.
Hmm.
Well, it's something that I've seen a lot of is especially I know this has been happening a long time. I think it's happening more since COVID because in COVID people were like, we're going to get eloped, we're going to have a reception later.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what I'm seeing now, and especially with destination couples, people who are flying in for their wedding, me being in the Florida Keys, we get a lot of that
Yeah.
They'll get married at their courthouse or with
Uh-huh.
just their family or something, and then they'll come and then they'll do the whole thing. They'll do the ceremony, cocktail, reception, what however it looks for them.
Yeah.
And for those that are listening in who are like, oh my gosh, I would love to do a Spaceballs wedding. Like, how amazing. Because like if you share it, somebody's gonna come out of the woodworks for you.
Somebody. Yeah.
But they're like, there's no way I could, like, my parents would be mortified if that was our wedding. Like, you can do this.
Yes.
Get married the way that you want
Yes.
to. If there might
Yes.
be some like family traditions or, whatever that looks like, rituals that you have to follow for your actual wedding day, go ahead and have the ceremony that you would love to have. Theme it up,
Yes.
have fun,
I have to
you
say
know?
this is a great segue into, again, the thinking outside the box. Like, you do not have to have the grandiose wedding to have your paper signed and all that stuff. Like, you
Yeah,
can
it's true.
literally, I've had people elope the day before their wedding.
Mhm.
I've had people get married and then tell me the day of, please don't tell anybody that we're already married.
I've gotten that many
And
times.
then I can think about people that genuinely are trying to make everybody happy. I
Mhm.
know the feeling. I know because I was that person too, and I think that's why I gave up on my wedding planning. I was doing it all myself, and I didn't know how to delegate, and I certainly didn't want to ask for what I wanted. So at the end of it all, I said, "Whatever, get a sheet cake from Walmart. I'm so over it. I just wanted people to just do it for me."
Mhm.
Here's the thing. My husband wanted to go to Vegas and just get it done, and I was like, I would have felt so guilty, right?
I think everyone has that thought. Anyone who's planning like
Yeah,
a
you would
larger
feel
wedding.
so guilty if you didn't do this thing in front of everybody that you care about. And I'll tell you, there's two ways to appease that. Go do the ceremony that you actually want to do. If there is something super small and thematic that you want to do, yes, go do the Spaceballs wedding. It's hilarious. It's wonderful. You get to share that moment. Bring a photographer though. Y'all don't run to the courthouse and don't leave your photographer at home. We need pictures of your courthouse wedding too, because that's why I said courthouse weddings are not boring. Every time I go do a courthouse wedding, I love it because you can take this ugly courthouse and make it cute.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to photograph it in a way that makes it look cute. You know what I mean? It's like, but there's no reason why you shouldn't have these little fun things documented for your life and for your story, your love story. And so I think that a lot of couples, if you're just in your head about trying to please everybody, you're going to be miserable on your wedding day. You're going to be thinking about all the things that you didn't do. And I've had one person in my whole career break down in tears because was literally succumbing to everything that everybody else wanted except for herself.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking if couples are literally sorry, that's my cat. It's heartbreaking if my couples are just having a complete emotional moment because they're trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
There's a way to do both and be okay with it. And it's okay to go get married and not have anybody there. It's okay to go up the next day and say, this is our real wedding. But we went and did it. We did the vows or whatever. We did the official paperwork the day before or the
Mhm.
week before. Um, I really think couples, especially these days, there's not always going to be the one size fits all wedding. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be unhappy. And I know as much as we can say that this is a very beautiful thing to celebrate, there's always going to be some kind of a family drama, even, or friend drama.
Mhm.
So, you might choose somebody for your wedding party and then realize you really don't like them that much the longer the day goes on. I've had that happen, and I'm like, wow, and then I've had the opposite happen where everybody is literally celebrating the couple. It's not about it's not about the family, it's not about the friend. It's about the couple getting married. It's not. So anyway, I hope that answered the question. I just really think that the couples should just run with your ideas, and people are going to be hurt no matter what, but I think part of this journey that we're all on together is communication.
Mhm.
And if you're communicating your heart and doing the things that you want to do with your partner and your loved ones, they should hopefully understand that you want to do what you want to do. And hopefully they support you in the end. You know what I mean? It's like,
The
it's,
crazy thing to me is, shoe on the other foot. Everybody wants to be able to have the wedding that they want, right?
yeah.
So I think it's for anyone listening in who might have an opinion about somebody else's big day or whatnot, remember that, we all want to have that special moment that's ours. And when you're, I had a mom one time, she would call in and say, Carin, on a scale of 1 to 20, how often do you see somebody get a full wedding cake these days? And out of 100 brides, what do you think would be? And like, she wanted these like statistics and all these things. And I was
Wow.
like, I can't remember her name. Maybe it was Pam. And I'm like, Pam, there's no right or wrong. Everybody thinks that there's like, here's the rule book to your wedding day. And honestly, that's, if there was one, it's been, it's with the, what is it? The sapphire at the bottom of the sea, but it's,
I've
it's,
been hearing sapphires a lot
yeah,
lately. That
you
word
have,
sapphire has been popping up. I have
ooh,
sapphires in my wedding ring because I'm just like, there's a lot of
yes,
sapphires.
it's because Blue Man Group, it's right around the corner for you.
Yeah, that too. That too.
So just, yeah, I think that's such an important message. Well, Jen, let's get into some quick Q&A before we wrap up here.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
One question I love to ask, because, a lot of the people who are listening in, they are creatives, they are vendors in the event world. And I like to be able to give them options for professional development or fun inspiration. Doesn't
Oh yeah.
necessarily have to be so serious. What are you listening to and or reading right now?
Okay, so I'll say that I'm listening to, I was just thinking about this question today because I'm in my car and the CD I have, or not the CD, the USB port that I have playing right
I love
now,
it.
it's a group from my childhood called Petra, and the CD is Beyond Belief. And what I love about the signature song on the CD is it's, and I think this has a lot to do with perspective. It's
Mhm.
the lyrics are, there's a higher place to go beyond belief. And I like to think of that as my entire life has been that way. Like, you can take for a matter of fact what you have right here, or you can think beyond, or you can go beyond. And a lot of things I'm talking about recently is expansion. Like, yeah, I may have started this way, but I've expanded to this. Or I may have started with this idea and it's expanded to this. So I really love the fact that that CD is kind of on repeat in my car, like at least this week. I may repeat something else next week, but yeah, Petra's Beyond Belief is in my listening ears right now. So
I wrote down that quote. I'm going to put it in the show notes. Maybe
yeah.
even tag you, because I love sharing quotes on social media. And I just put out this week, I don't know why, but the theme has become facing your fears, just in a lot of the things I'm doing, and looking back and seeing like, what was your original dream, and like, where are you at now, and like all that fear you've overcome, and your original like belief was like here, and then what's happened over time, like you're saying, the expansion of what we think can happen. Like, oh my goodness, imagine the dreams we have now, and we're
I
working in this area.
never would have
Crazy.
never would have seen myself starting something called Weirdo Weddings.
Yeah. You were gonna be
Weirdo Weddings
ancient.
Photography. And I was like, I recently redid my marketing for the Weirdo brand because a lot of people thought I was a wedding planner. And I was like, nope,
Yeah,
not a wedding
yeah.
planner. I may have planned all these styled shoots and stuff, but I'm not a wedding planner.
I
And
love
I
it.
love those that are. And this is a high respect to those wedding planners out there because OMG, it is not for me.
Oh yeah. I finally said I retire. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
one day
So
I'll
that,
dabble again,
yeah.
because there's things I miss. But yeah, my love fell a different direction as well.
And so, yeah, so that's one of the things I'm listening to. And even I don't really read a ton. But I can tell you something I've been making recently because I
Yeah,
am an
sure.
artist, obviously. And I like when things pop up in your life that maybe you've had on a shelf for a really long time. I'll give you this example. I've had a block of clay for probably 7 or 8 years, and I bought it for a project that was a cosplay project for somebody else to do a conceptual photo shoot with them. And it's called Princess Mononoke. And I sculpted a full clay mask. I painted it. I gave it to her as a present. And then I had another block of clay sitting on the shelf. And I was like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? What do I do with this? So I decided one day, you know what? I'm just going to open it up and see what happens. And so at this point, I had come home from all these different places like Boston and Oregon and, Galveston area, Freeport area. And I had in Florida, actually, like my stepbrother got married in Florida. So it's like I had all these seashells sitting around. And at first I realized, oh, I'm going to pull out this block of clay. And I'm like, oh, I just can't, I'm not a sculptor, cannot do this. Oh my God, this is terrible. And then I started thinking, what about all these shells I have sitting around? And so I started making these adorable little eyeball seashell monster creatures inside these shells, and they're stinking adorable. And I used my entire block of clay just on those little guys. And so now, like, just a visual representation of something that's been sitting on the shelf for 7 or 8 years can actually still become something really beautiful in your future.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
And
I
that made
relate
me
to
so happy.
everything. Yeah, everything you're saying. I'm like, oh, I have a story to add. I've been trying to hold back, but I'm not doing a good job. But we can, like, I'll tell you my little sideline to that later.
I'd love to
But
hear it.
it's like, oh, you hear people, I've had it on my heart to do this for 10 years and I never did. Or the people who, I listen to Jasmine Star a lot, and she talks about when her mom was on, she's alive now, but when they didn't think she was going to make it through cancer, and she was saying all the things that she wished she could have done. And so, props to you for, I mean, it seems so small in that kind of picture, but props to you for like taking the thing and just like, okay, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's
I
just
think
have fun
in
and
the
see what
art
happens.
world, and I'm going to say in the wedding industry world and in the art world, we don't know how to play. And play to me means you're just letting yourself go with your ideas.
Yeah.
And we don't always get that permission from our clients. And sometimes we do, but a lot of times we don't. But as an artist, all we're doing is giving ourselves permission to play. And I think it's great. It's very invigorating and it's very freeing. And especially if you fail 3 or 4 times before you finally get to your final product, I mean, that is the creative process to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful. And I think a lot of people get too scared to even get into the process. And so I'm like, they have to have an outcome. And I'm like, no, you don't have to have an outcome for some of this stuff. Just go.
Oh, just do it.
What are you waiting on?
Do it. So many art. I'm the one who like starts something like an art project and I never finish it. Who cares? I had fun, playing around for a little while. I mean, that happens too as a mom, right? Like, how many things do we
Well,
start?
yeah, I mean, I have a very creative daughter. So I'm
Yeah.
going to be reliving all of this stuff all over again. I might
Ah,
as well just leap into it all
yes.
over.
So cool. So cool. And I think a message there too to the entrepreneurs is schedule time to be creative or to like start a new hobby. Like, just schedule an hour a week. Start there.
Yeah, and I know the challenge, and I'll speak to the challenges of vendors like me that you can't stop thinking about your business 24/7. You have to remove yourself for periods of time from your thought life too. Get yourself out of your head and go actually enjoy something without having to have an ulterior motive behind it. This week I'm going to go enjoy Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf has come to Dallas. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like a big art installation.
Yeah.
We're going to go explore. My friend is literally flying down here from Chicago and we're going to go explore together. And I was like, this is the kind of visual inspiration that I enjoy. Like, it's kind of like going to the flea market for the mid-century modern, right? You're going to go in there, you're going to enjoy things. You don't have to have a motive behind it or an agenda or a strategy. It seems like every time we turn around, we have a motive, agenda, a strategy. You got to do this. This is, what is that thing on Reels that says everything is content, everything is content? No, it does
No, it
not have
doesn't
to
have
be
to be
that
that
way.
way.
Or just go
So
play.
Meow Wolf, though, that's like, don't they have a grocery store in Vegas? Isn't that
Yeah, it's the
okay.
Omega Mart.
Yeah.
And I went there last Wedding MBA. I'm going to Wedding MBA again this year. and I went to the Omega Mart and I found all the secret passages I wanted to find, which was good. And
Cool.
then I also went to Blue Man, and I also went to Wink World, which is an offshoot of kind of like one of the founders of Blue Man started that Wink World. So between the visuals and the music and the
Yeah.
fun, playful things, like there's just letting your brain go play, letting
Yeah.
your brain experience some new senses and sensations and visuals, and oh, it's just so great. I love it.
I'm going to put the link for Meow Wolf in the show notes too, just for all of you listening to just take 10 minutes to do something that's not work. How about that?
Yeah, and if you live, I'm sorry, people, if y'all live somewhere that Blue Man is playing, you need to get yourself over there to see it.
Yeah.
Chicago, Vegas, Boston, and New York. So, and then Berlin, if there's anybody from Berlin listening.
And Berlin, you never know. I mean, we have
You
people in
never
the
know.
UK who listen in, so.
You never know.
Okay,
The
so
world is,
I've got two more questions. We'll try to
yes.
do them quickly because I know we're kind of getting to that lunchtime mark here together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and okay, so the second question, can you believe we're only on question number two?
Oh,
We're gonna have to like do a whole nother thing because I could talk to you forever. Um, we're in this scenario, we are meeting 1 year from now to pop a bottle of champagne to celebrate something in your life or in your business. What would we be celebrating?
this is a good one for people who really have their life planned out. Let
Wedding
me see if
planner guilty.
I know. I was like, let me see if I can think of something that would be worth popping the bottle on. And I think because, this is I know, I'm sorry, this is another side conversation about success and defining it for yourself. Like, I would just pop it at any time because I feel like the biggest success I could ever have is being who I am and working with the people that I know I'm supposed to work with. And I think so next year I'll be popping that bottle all over again that I'm still here. I didn't give up. I'm working and creating in bigger spaces maybe. Maybe I have finally done that project with the Blue Man group that I've always wanted to do.
Gonna happen.
Or, something along that line where I've had this moment where I'm on a bigger stage than I could ever have dreamed of, I guess. And really the platform is just for encouraging others to be themselves as well. So my hopes is that a year from now that I have walked through a few more things to take me to that place, and then I can celebrate that. I'll come back and listen to this and celebrate it.
That's perfect. And I'll come hang out with you and we'll pop that
Yay.
on.
Or I'll come to you. It sounds like you have a fabulous location.
Come on down. I've always got champagne in the fridge. Well, Jen, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your insights, not even just your insights, but just kind of shining a light, I think, out and giving, again, that permission for us to just be who we are. It's so needed. And I'd love for you to share with everyone where they can find you. And
Absolutely.
if you have anything coming up that you'd like to share, I'm assuming that if you're all listening in, it's probably August, just so that time frame.
I was going to say I have a few things coming up that are July. So
I know it's July right now recording. It'll be August
yes.
when we're
So,
live.
I was talking with my PR strategist yesterday and she said just remind everybody to go to your website because websites are where everything is at. Yes, you can follow me on social media. I'm so easy to find, Weirdo Weddings. But if you go to my website at weirdowedings.com and it'll take you to Pinklight Images because it's both me.
Mhm.
And you're going to see everything that I'm about. You're going to see all the speaking things that I've been doing. You're going to see the Ren Fair weddings. You're going to see the weird and quirky things that I've been working on and all the fun things that I've been published in, just all these really cool things about me that if you needed to get to know me a little bit more, it'll be all on my website. And then also my socials. I get very personal on the socials and I talk about art and I talk about concepts and how art really is a healing factor for so many people out there. And if I could say anything to anybody right now is that if you are in a place of need or you're needing to express some things and you just don't have the words, then make some art.
I love that. Beautiful. Jen, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has
You're
been
very welcome.
lovely.
Yay.
And we're gonna take this conversation off off air, but everyone listening in,
I'm waving like everybody can see me.
yeah, right. Well, it's all, we're on YouTube too. I'll
Yay.
drop all that info in the show notes. I pulled a couple of great quotes, so you can all share those on social, and we're wishing you all a win.